I remember back in Tasking and Bruiser, there was a call put out to give you a birthday beatdown. I was like, yeah, man, even if we get the best of Jocko, you realize like we have to let him up at some point, right, too? And then it's just gonna be just payback.
You tell this story, Leif, and it kind of makes me sound like some Billy badass, but you know me, I'm not the best athlete in the world, I'm not the strongest guy, I'm not the toughest guy. Those natural genetic things, they don't really make the difference, but I simply had knowledge that other people didn't have. Well, you get in bad situations with leadership too, and there are maneuvers that you can make. There are skills that you can learn that you can deal with those situations. You can actually become a good leader, just like I was able to become a good fighter. And if people don't understand what's happening, they're not going to be able to beat you.
I remember back in Tasking and Bruiser when there was a call put out to give you a birthday beatdown. And this is the tradition of the SEAL teams. You know, when it's your birthday, your friends are going to get together, gang up on you, and beat you down for your birthday. So Jimmy May, who was a part of our task unit, I think he was a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu at the time. He was one of the few guys that actually had some skills in Jiu-Jitsu. And he went around and was like, hey, man, let's go get Jocko's birthday. We need to hook him up. And he goes around to everybody in the task unit. And we've got some hardcore combat veterans who are going out on operations every day, putting their lives on the line fearlessly. We had some guerrillas, certainly in Charlie Platoon and Adele Platoon as well. Fearless, courageous warriors. And what do you have, 45 SEALs or something like that total in Tasking and Bruiser? Jimmy May tries to round us all up. He couldn't even get one person. He couldn't even get one person to join his effort to go in to beat you down. And I remember he was like, dude, if there's enough of us, we'll be able to take Jocko down. I was like, yeah, that's true. But what's going to happen to the first 3 or 4 people to get to Jocko? And then we're talking about, I was like, yeah, man, even if we get the best of Jocko and we rough Jocko up and, hey, happy birthday, you realize we have to let him up at some point, right, too? And then it's just going to be just payback. And I remember, maybe it's because you set the example of that when people attacked you in the platoon, you didn't accept taps.
That kind of came from when I was in a different platoon and guys started to try and think well, we'll catch him when he's not looking, catch him when he's, doing something else, sneak up behind him, do sneak attacks, basically. Sneak attacks. And so once these sneak attacks, a couple of them happened, and, I'd get the upper hand and they would tap. But then it started happening where people are going to try and get that one moment, maybe if I can get a chokehold in on Jocko, I can get him. So then I just started not accepting taps. So if you attacked me, you were going to sleep. That's what was happening. And you were probably going to wake up in a strange place, i.e. locked in a drying cage somewhere. So yeah, if people attack you, sometimes you got to go scorched earth and put them to sleep.
You're kind of cleared hot. But thinking back on that, I'm, some of the most badass frogmen I ever had the chance to serve with, and he couldn't even get one person to agree to go in and give you the birthday beatdown. So he left dejectedly and gave up.
Yeah, and really that's more than anything else. It's a statement about the power of jiu-jitsu because, you know me, I'm not the best athlete in the world. I'm not the strongest guy. I'm not the toughest guy, but I did certainly have a higher skill set in this particular thing called jiu-jitsu that I could just win in these fights. And again, it wasn't because I was a tough guy. It wasn't because I was strong. I mean, there's definitely guys that were way stronger than me in those platoons and throughout my career. But having the skill of jiu-jitsu is something that you can utilize. And if people don't understand what's happening, they're not going to be able to beat you. And what's interesting about this is it's the same exact thing with leadership skills, right? When you go, if you have leadership skills and people don't know what's happening or they don't have those skills, you're going to be able to do infinitely better than they are. And people don't realize that just like jiu-jitsu is a skill that you can learn, you can go and watch a YouTube video and figure out how to defend yourself in bad situations. Well, you get in bad situations with leadership too, and there are maneuvers that you can make. There are skills that you can learn that you can deal with those situations. It's crazy to think if it's like with the jiu-jitsu thing, if I was just a badass guy and no one wanted to mess with me because I was naturally bigger and stronger and faster than them, then that's kind of useless in a way because I can't really teach it to anybody. But with leadership, people look and they go, oh, that person's a good leader. They're smarter or more articulate. They have this leadership gene. There's no leadership gene. There's no leadership gene. It doesn't exist. Can you have some characteristics that help you on a leadership front? Yes, you can. Does it help to be articulate? Yes. Does it help to be able to simplify things easily? Yes, it does. Does it help to have a loud voice in a combat situation? Yes, it does. But all those things are just sort of attributes, just like in jiu-jitsu. Does it help to be strong in jiu-jitsu? Yes, it does. Does it help? And you know what? You can work to get stronger. Does it help to be flexible in jiu-jitsu? Yes, it does. And you can work to be more flexible. Does it help to have explosive strength in jiu-jitsu? Yes, it does. But none of those things by themselves can overcome jiu-jitsu, a jiu-jitsu trained person. It can't happen. It's the same thing with leadership. Can you become more articulate? Of course you can. Can you develop the methodology to simplify things? Yes, you can. And you can get better at those things. You can learn those skills and you can actually become a good leader, just like I was able to become a good fighter simply through learning these skills. So you tell this story, Leif, and it kind of makes me sound like some Billy badass, but I simply had knowledge that other people didn't have. And I was lucky that I started training at a time when not that many people were training. And I was lucky that jiu-jitsu is just a very effective martial art. And that's the way it is. So let's not mistake a learned skill to me just being just natural badass. That's not the way it was. And let's not mistake, I was in charge of task unit bruiser. We did a good job on deployment. Is that because I was a natural born leader? No, it's because I had learned leadership skills. So no matter what the pursuit that you're in, look, there's a certain amount of, there's some athletic pursuits that are very genetically based. Some people are fast. They're genetically fast. They're genetically strong. They're genetically tall, right? If you're in the NBA and you happen to be 6'9", that's a big advantage. And there's not much you can do about that one, right? There's not a whole lot you can do if you're 5'2" and you want to play in the NBA, unless you're Muggsy Bogues. He got the skills and made it happen. But those natural genetic things, they don't really make the difference when it comes to leadership. They don't really make the difference when it comes to fighting. Now, look, two skilled opponents, of course, both people know jiu-jitsu, sure. The bigger, stronger, faster guy's going to win. But we have to break things down and look at them from a skill perspective. Jiu-jitsu, something you can learn and you can become a good fighter. Leadership, something you can learn and you can become a great leader.